Welcome. I'm Carl Frederick, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project of the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I have worked in newspapers for more than 40 years as an editor and a reporter. 38 and a half of those years were at the Kenosha News. I am also a member of the Kenosha County Historical Society Board. We hope you enjoy these programs. I'm speaking with Chris, Dan, and Nick Tenuta, owners of Tenuta's Liquor and Delicatessen. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Start with you, Chris. You, of the three, have been there longest. When did you start working at the deli?
Well, our whole life, our whole family has been there as kids, you know, going in, but probably working started in junior high. I went to school at McKinley Junior High down the road from the store, and after school I'd walk to the store and work. That would probably be my official starting.
And what was your first job?
Probably sweeping the parking lot, and returnable bottles back in the day were a big thing, both beer and soda, and they needed to be sorted and moved and filling coolers.
How much of a thing was returnable bottles?
It was huge. We like holidays, the beer companies would leave a truck there. That, you know, there was enough that you'd have to, you know, take them out of the store and put them in the truck. There was a whole section. What now is kind of the beer section was more an outdoors, gated in thing that had just returnables.
And that was, people brought lots and lots of returnable bottles?
A lot of, yeah, like soda and beer.
When did that kind of change?
That's a good question. I'd say maybe 20 years ago, 30. I can't honestly give you that answer. It's been a while, and it slowed down. You know, people didn't want to bring them back, so.
Now we're back with plastic bottles.
Yeah, now we're out. Yeah, it's done.
Tell me about some of your other jobs as you grew in the business.
Well, kind of even to this day, we have to do everything. There's not a job that we don't do if it's needed. And when we were kids, we sold watermelons. My dad would buy a semi full of watermelons, and two of us would sit out there in the parking lot and peddle watermelons for whatever it was at the time, $2 or $4, and then he'd give us a split. You know, we've worked everything from slicing meats and working in the delis to making some food. I did more of the beer and the liquor part of it. Back in the earlier days, it was two separate stores, and I kind of worked more in the liquor part and kind of management than food. We had a cousin that worked for us for 55 years that did more of the food, Tony Bonanno.
He's been there quite a long time.
Yeah.
Kind of a fixture.
Yeah.
Everybody knew Tony.
Tony, yeah.
So when did you start in supervision or managing?
Oh, as a child. I mean, I would say by the time I was, you know, 16 and up, my dad I would work nights with my grandfather, and my grandfather was getting older and wasn't really as much as on the floor and working at. My dad used to, and anybody that worked at Tenuta's would know, he'd have a list. He used to sell a lot of cigarettes, and the back of the cigarette cartons would open up, and they'd tear those off. It was like a 12x4 thing, and my dad would walk you around the store, and you'd have your list that you had to get done, and he had pretty good memory. You had to go, the next day he'd remember if you got your stuff done or you did. Okay. But that was something all the workers had to do.
And when did you become owner?
Probably in my early 30s, I started, you know, for maybe five to 8 years, me and my dad were kind of partners, and more of that was just on paper, and I think it's the same with my kids. we all accepted the responsibility, and even after I bought my dad out, it's got to be over 20, 25 years now. He still came in, and I was told, I know it's your business, and I'm not telling you how to do it, but if I was to do it, this is how I would do it. So.
Do you do that today?
Well,
It's still his business.
my kids would probably say I'm not as smooth as my father was.
I wouldn't go that far.
But yeah, I mean, they make their own decisions. I do stick my nose into everything because I feel I have input, and I feel it is my business. But they make their own decisions and have proven that they make good decisions. They ask sometimes for help, and sometimes they don't. And good for them. That's what they should do. That's how you learn.
Dan, what was your first job, and when did you start?
I mean, we both worked off and on when we were younger, in like elementary, middle school. But that was just like a day here and there, kind of a fun thing. Get to go to work with Dad and see Grandpa and do
What did
little
you do?
odd jobs. Mostly like cutting cheese, taking baked pizzas, stocking shelves, kind of like he said, soda coolers, that kind of stuff. The easy stuff that you could do as a kid.
And how did this develop into where you are today?
Well, I went away to school. Didn't initially have plans at coming back and working at Tenuta's necessarily. I was going to try something new. Then I came home. Was kind of figuring out where life was going to take me in the world. And over the summer, I was working at Tenuta's full time, just earning some money. And Tony Bonanno, that we mentioned earlier, retired. So someone had to step up and take over his job. Nick was still away at school at this time. So I just kind of went for it, got thrown into the fire, and really enjoyed it. And here we are now, 4 years later.
Where did you go to school?
UW-Madison.
And your degree was in what?
Retail and consumer behavior, and then I got a minor of entrepreneurship.
So you graduated with a degree in something that was pretty close to running a business like Tenuta's.
Yeah, it definitely gave me good insights on, coming into a situation like that I definitely didn't have prior to going away to school.
But did you go into that field thinking you would either be at Tenuta's or someplace like that, or form your own business?
I did think, at one point in my life I'd like to kind of start my own business, not necessarily, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I thought that was definitely an option. No, I just I knew I did like the retail setting. I like talking to people, having these face-to-face conversations that I might not necessarily get with a desk job. So that was kind of the thought process behind that, and one thing led to another.
Great. And Nick, when did you start?
I would say probably about middle school, same as Dan and my father, probably, 6th or 7th grade.
And doing the same thing Dan did?
Similar
or?
to Dan, yeah. A lot of cutting cheese, wrapping cheese, packaging bulk product for retail sale, taking baked pizzas, sweeping the parking lot, stuff like that.
Okay, and you also went to college?
Yeah, UW-Madison as well.
And your degree?
Geographical Information Systems and a minor in Digital Studies.
Okay, and what did you intend to do with that?
I hadn't fully come to a conclusion. There was a lot of different paths with that degree. There's military, environmental conservation, using human geography for like marketing and stuff like that. So I hadn't fully came to a conclusion which route I was going to take, but.
And you were in school in the middle of COVID.
Yes.
And what was that like? What did that
It was
affect your thinking?
definitely. It was a lot different of an environment than I'd ever really experienced before. Somewhat secluded almost. A lot of people think college is this great social experience. In the middle of COVID, it wasn't. It was, me sitting in my apartment, or in my senior year, me living with 6 other guys in our house and wake up in the morning, do your school for a few hours, and then can't really go out anywhere. So it was a lot different than what I think.
Did COVID change your thinking as to what you might want to do after college?
It changed my thinking in the way that I was very unsure of the future. So it kind of left me with, when the option of working at the store came up, that seemed like my most sure and consistent, option.
Were you encouraged to come into the store, or?
I was encouraged to do anything else. I was never, our father in no way ever pushed us to want to be part of the business. It was quite the opposite. He always encouraged us to try new things, go to college, get a degree in something that you want to do, not that's related to the store in any way. Go do what you want to do, and if you want, this will always be here as an option for you to come back to.
So then,
Maybe do an easier job. I'm not saying easier job, but it's a job that takes up a lot of time. Weekends and holidays is when you're busy. So I kind of always suggested maybe they find a different path. Not that I didn't want them. God bless them. I want them with me, but maybe a doctor or a lawyer where Friday to Sunday you don't have to work.
did anybody in the family kind of nudge you over to help make up your mind?
My brother a little bit. I think near the end of my college career, if you want to call it that, I think I was leaning towards coming back to work for my father at the store. Like I said, it seemed like a pretty concrete job at the time with how uncertain things were with the pandemic and stuff like that. But my senior year on winter break, when I came back, my brother kind of expressed his feelings of, hey, he had already obviously taken over Tony's job when I was still away at school, but he was kind of asking me, do you want to do this with me? Otherwise, I'm not really sure I want to stay here, the rest of my life. I think we both saw how much work it can be for a single person, and my dad, when he, obviously after my grandpa passed away, more became uninvolved in the business, how much work it became for a single person, and we both recognized that and hope maybe split some of the responsibility between the two of us and maybe have a weekend off, as my dad said, and not have to work every Friday through Saturday or Sunday. So he didn't pull me into it, but Dan was outright with me of how he felt about both of our futures going forward at the business.
And it was important to you for Nick to come into the business.
Yeah. I think it's a field that you definitely need people that you can look to with questions, right? It's really hard sometimes making a decision where it's like, all right, well, this is, if I mess up, this is on me. And that's part of the fun of it, but, and obviously the vice versa, if you do something good, it works out for you and rewarding. But I think it is important to have people that you really trust around you in this.
And he
type
said
of
it was
business.
important to you that you weren't sure what you would do if he said no.
Yeah, no, I didn't really think that far. I just assumed that he was probably going to
I
say
was
yes.
gonna say, yeah, I think he knew pretty sure that if he asked me the answer he would get.
So yeah, we didn't even have to worry about it. We were just like, all right, let's do this thing.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the history. Chris, you probably know more than the other two.
Well, the business was started by my grandfather, 1950, April Fool's Day, 1950.
What had he been doing?
He worked in factories, Vincent McCall, American Brass, did some door-to-door sales, I think, like of kitchen silverware and pots and pans back then, and just wanted his own business. And he bought the business. It was about the size of a large garage. It was more a soda fountain and a candy store, newspapers, and then
At the current location.
yep, we've always been the same location, and we've added on. It, like I said, it started very small, and I can't honestly tell you how many additions there's been. If you walk around, you can look and put them together, but there's probably been eight decent additions, the last one being where we almost doubled the size. he ran the store, and my father went to school at Marquette for a couple of years, and then my grandfather, the story be it that he got sick and my father came back to help him. I don't know how sick he got. I don't think he was on his deathbed. But my father came back to help him, and then they kind of took over as a team. I think my father was more the growing side of the store. But as a team they worked, and their concept is kind of our concept to this day. If there's something somebody's looking for and we can find it, we'll try to do it. We'll try to get it in. And customer service, take care of the people, customer satisfaction, and it's helped us grow from a smaller business to a larger business.
So your grandfather wasn't that young when he decided to go into business, having factory jobs?
He had to be 42, maybe 43, in that range. So he was older.
Still kind of an ambitious decision.
Where maybe some people would be slowing down in their life, or have decided. And I guess it's something that he always wanted to do. I was told he always wanted to have a business, and probably a lot of people of that era, wanted to do more for themselves. My grandmother's side of the family, I think, had businesses, so maybe some of that was towards pushing them towards that.
And you said that there's been perhaps as many as 8 additions to the store?
Yeah.
So how has the business then developed? You say it started as a candy, newspapers, cigarettes kind of store. How did it grow into the deli and all the groceries and into the liquor area?
In the earlier years, up until I was in high school, it was 2 separate stores. And it always had to be that way. It had to be a liquor store and a grocery store. And over the years, it went from being a smaller liquor store and a grocery store that had everyday items like Sentries, of that time. There was a lot of Sentry stores, and then it got to where we were a specialty store, and there was a bigger side and a smaller side, and various times it changed to where groceries were bigger, then liquor got bigger, and the stores flip-flopped, where the liquor store was the larger side, and then it flip-flopped back to where the food was kind of bigger. And then when chain stores started coming into town, they took away the divider. The city kind of gave into the chain stores being able to have liquor store. They had to answer to that more so to let those stores came in, and then we opened up as one store. We tore the wall down. We added on the largest addition would have been the biggest addition, where we almost doubled our size.
You know when that was?
No, I'm not good. I'm not saying I'm not good with time, but I would say I was in high school or the start of college. I'd say high school.
Okay.
So the late 70s, maybe 80, 81. I graduated in 81, so it was right about there. It was a lot, because a lot of the kids that helped us, my dad was big on us doing our own work, so we tore down walls, we moved coolers. We had professionals help us in some essence, but we did the work, the rough work we did.
So today, what is kind of the percentage between grocery and liquor?
It's about 50-50. It gives and takes. But I would say right now probably groceries is a hair over 50%. Groceries a little bit bigger than
And in terms of square footage, there's more space devoted to groceries?
Because I'd say footage-wise, liquor and beer about the same as the groceries. But if you figure in the deli would throw the food side bigger. But
when did the deli get developed?
Well, we've always had a deli. Back in the earlier days, they cooked chickens, they did pizzas, hot pizzas, and had a deli. So that was something, as long as I can remember, was I want to say in the 60s, the deli was in existence.
Okay. And can tell me a little bit about your father who took over from your grandfather. What was your dad like?
He was a hard worker. He did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of stuff with the store, and he did a lot of other stuff. My dad was always, his philosophy was, put into the community and it'll come back to you not say profit from it, because it wasn't about the money, but help build a big city and a good city, and hopefully that'll treat you right. And I guess that would have been his philosophy, and it proved to work that way.
Can you tell me some of the things he was involved with in the community?
Probably the biggest thing would have been they started a bank, American State Bank, which then was bought out by Johnson. The Johnson family became Johnson Bank. They owned part of 7-Up soda company in the day. They had a concrete company, K&M. Very big in Rotary, very big in just any kind of project. A lot of people would bring projects to him. He helped in the development of Parkside. He helped in I know there's many things, but the marina, I remember the marina, getting the marina downtown was a big thing. Towards the end of his life, he was big at Carthage. He's on the trustees of Carthage and that. But anything, I think that's kind of what helped us, and we worked, and not my father was there. My father was always working, but he had an upstairs office, and there's a lot of meetings in the upstairs office, and just little stuff. And like I said, he tried to, and it's to this day, it's kind of our philosophy: do good to the community, and the community be good back to you.
What do you remember about your grandfather?
He knew everybody. You'd go to dinner, and every single table that you walked past, there was someone that said hi to him, or he had to say hi to, or and you still get the stories all the time.
Yeah, the stories.
Do you remember anyone in particular?
Him? Trying to think. Just how, I know Dan just said it, just how social he was. Someone can come in and be, Ralph remembered my name after one time of meeting me, and I came back 6 months later, and he remembered my name, my kids, where they were in school. Stories like that, I get a lot about him. Of just, again, it comes back to being involved with the community and the customers. He just seemed to really care and want to actually get to know the people around him.
How do you find employees? How do you keep the employees?
Probably the biggest challenge of our business right now is employees, and keeping employees and finding employees, because we have a younger employee crowd, high school through college, and that's what we've always done. We have a few long-term employees that have been with us for years, but a lot of kids working through high school and college, their first job, and they might start with us at 14 and stay with us till they're done with college, and then move on to whatever their profession they chose. And we have a lot of return family employees. We've had as far as three generations of employees. That their grandfather worked there, their father worked there. The thing. Daniel said earlier that, like, a lot of family. I can think of families that we probably had five brothers. That would be like the higher end, but there might be 5 brothers and sisters that worked at the store at one point or another. So a lot of our employees, I think, are referred by family members and or friends, and that, I think, has helped a lot in the kind of employee we get, because they have some pride, or they have some devotion because their brother worked there and their brother liked it, or maybe didn't like it, you never know, but they kind of we always go back to treat the people how you want to be treated, and that's our basis of employees. That's our philosophy, I guess you would say it. Try to give the customer the best service possible. And I think when you have people that their family has worked there, and we try to be family. Every employee, I think, it's not, it is our decision. We listen to everybody. We let the employees make decisions. We try to, it's work, but try to make it as friendly as possible. I don't know if that would make sense.
You mentioned, excuse me, you mentioned long-standing employees. Do you have an example or two of people who have been there for quite a long time?
Tony, who retired right when COVID started, Tony, I'm pretty sure it was 55 years he was there. He came from Italy at 18 years old, 17 maybe. We have Cindy that works in the deli. I probably shouldn't say years, because telling how possibly how old a woman would be, I might get in trouble. Cindy has to have been with us for 40 some years. We have some of our cashiers in the 30 to 40 years, some of our deli workers. So we probably have a handful of people, more than 6, but 6 to 12 that have been there for quite a while.
Are any of them family members?
I was thinking people that aren't family members,
Okay.
but yeah, family members. My older brother Matt started before me, so he's in his late 60s. He still works part-time, or not a full schedule like he did. I have a sister that was working full-time up until the last couple of years, and still helps us out. I have my children now. My wife is a retired school teacher. She helps us out a little bit now. I have brothers that went into different businesses and different professions and help us out with bookkeeping, or work sometimes, or and help in different areas, that have one that's younger, one that's older. Nieces and nephews of more short term, but on all sides of the families. My mother's family, her nieces and nephews have worked for us. My brother's kids and sisters' children have worked for us. My wife's family, some of her family has worked for us.
What is it like going to work with all these people you're related to?
It's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Blessing and a curse, is one way I would put it.
So you have to remember birthdays and anniversaries because they're all around you all the time? And, no?
A little bit. But
Yeah. We spend a lot of time together.
yeah.
Do you feel like it affects your behavior a little bit, knowing that your aunt is there, or an uncle?
Maybe, but definitely not in a negative way in any sense. If anything, it's only in a positive way of knowing you have someone there that you can trust is definitely a big part of having some of our family work there. That's, I would say, the best part is, hands down, if I have an issue, I know I can go to pretty much any of them with anything I need help with, need advice on. So, like I said, only in positive ways.
So when it comes to looking at employees, the main core of them is family. No? Yes?
I would say
The ones that
some
have worked
but
there
not.
the longest, probably, yeah.
Yeah, but also I think other families. You know what I mean? Like I said, that families that have worked for us for two, 3 generations, or and then their kids come, and even to this day, some will be 4th generation that say, as soon as so and so gets to be old enough. So I guess I wouldn't say our family is all blood. A lot of it is just relationship family, if you want to put it that way. A loose term of family,
Yes.
but somebody that you've known their family their whole life. They might have been your neighbor as kids, or your parents were friends and you grew up with them. So,
Okay. Did either of you ever bring friends into the fold as employees?
Yes.
Yeah, some through us kind of bring them in, some just on their own, because like what we're talking about, this pipeline of other family members or friends that know about the business and kind of ended up there. But I mean, there's quite a few. There's a lot. I mean, at least 4 or 5 people that work there currently that we knew before we even worked together. So I bring somebody in and say, "Hi, Dad. Let's hire this guy." yeah, what's he gonna say? No.
they're good. They get good judgment. I mean, they're even from a younger age. I think part of that is just being around the business the whole time. They are going to bring in somebody that they know is going to be I'd say detrimental or unproductive. I mean, you got to live with. Not say you got to live with them, but you got to live with them. You're trying to. We're always not say trying to solve the problem. Not that the business is a problem, but we're always trying to make the machine function. Mm-hmm. So they see that. They've seen that as young kids.
And what is the core of having a successful business? Where does that start?
I would say our biggest thing is building the relationships with the customers. There's so many people now that I know on a first-hand basis that we talk every single week when they come in, and I know he's got those people and he has those people, and that's got to be the most important part, is making sure you take care of the customers the right way so that they have a reason to come back.
And that starts with the employees.
It starts with how you teach the employees, the values you instill in them. All your employees, the best way to teach them is set a good example. So show them how you would do it, and that's how we try to do it, is put the customer first, have that more personal relationship and interactions, and show our employees that that's how we do it and that's how they should do it. And I think that's a big key in being successful for
And
us.
Tenuta's is not just a store. I mean, there's been celebrities coming by that must have known this was a place to go. And remember any of those and what it was like having someone come in that was a surprise that, oh my gosh, somebody like they came into my store?
President was the biggest one for sure. We were pretty young for that, but I definitely remember that day.
A lot of hoopla, people all over.
Tons of people.
It was crazy.
Lining 52nd Street.
Anybody that was here at that time knows how big that was, but I mean, he closed down the roads. We didn't know until he showed up. If he was coming.
They didn't want you to tell anybody.
No, and it was kind of funny because I had cop friends that called me, hey, is he coming for sure? And I'm like, I don't know, you guys should know. You guys should know.
So it's probably hard to navigate through the aisles of the store that day.
Oh yeah, and they were all out front. They were all out 52nd Street. I mean, all the way up 52nd Street, there's people parked just waiting to look. And yeah, there's people there. And then the mayor showed up, the fire chief showed up. So you're kind of figuring. But at that time, I think even in Lake Geneva, he was supposed to stop at a bakery, or I believe it was a bakery there, and something was wrong, and they didn't stop. You know what I mean? So you didn't know until he came. But that would definitely be the biggest. We've had some actors, a lot of athletes. I'd say mostly politicians is kind of the thing.
Did they come because of your dad, or?
I think there is some connection to that. I think my dad, I don't know if that's my opinion and it's a one-sided opinion, but he was kind of a spokesperson for the town, and I mean, so they would talk to him, and my father wasn't out for himself. My father, like we talked earlier, was to build for the community and, put into the community, and it might come back to reward you. And that was how he was. So I think there was a lot of that, that people came to see him. It definitely was him more than anybody. You know what I mean? Not say it wasn't my grandfather, not insulting my grandfather, but I think that gained with my father.
What are some of the changes today since you have kind of taken the reins of the different departments?
Digital marketing, social media, I think that has been the biggest kind of project me and Dan have overtaken since we kind of started playing a bigger role here and shifting from, newspaper ads to putting more time into social media and a website, stuff to kind of take us into the new age, but also, we've talked about this before, it's hard coming into a business that's 4 generations at this point and kind of walking that fine line of trying to bring in the new but not overstep tradition, and it's definitely, like I said, a fine line to walk of trying to change and do new things while also still not trying to reinvent the wheel and honoring the old traditions that we have carried on for 4 generations.
Do the two of you ever meet just to discuss where things are or what we should do next or anything coming up?
We collaborate on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
We obviously have help. We don't do all of the, we've been really trying to build our online presence, and we've done that with the assistance of Dooley and Associates has helped us out quite a bit.
So where
But
do
yeah,
you
we-
market?
What's that?
Where do you market?
I
Like
think
geographically.
Yeah.
we've definitely been trying to hit Milwaukee and Chicago the hardest, which it's pretty amazing what you can do with technology nowadays, that's even possible. But so far, that's kind of been what we've been
Focusing
on the most.
We've been relying on a lot of, word of mouth for the local stuff and, people passing along to their new coworker, hey, I love this place, you got to stop, because a lot of that helps us out, and we've kind of accepted that maybe we can focus a little bit more time and resources on elsewhere where people may not have even heard of us.
What have the results been with your marketing to Chicago's north suburbs and Milwaukee?
It's hard to track, directly how much it has affected, but we're still growing as a business. Definitely growing, and I think some of that can be attributed to getting out into those markets where people may not have heard of us, and even if it's a person only coming in once a month because they make that trip down on a weekend or something, I think our efforts have led to a very positive impact on our business.
I think they've done well with that. I'd say I was skeptical on some stuff, but that's all new to me. But just seeing over how the business has grown, so I can see it. That's obviously I've been there longer than them, but we kind of hit a plateau at one point, maybe 10 years ago. You had a lot of chains coming in. Our thing was always specialty. Not say our always, but our latest concept or whatever or approach would be specialty food, and for a long time that wasn't that was a nobody bothered. Not say bothered us. There was not a lot of competition in that. Well, now every chain store wants specialty food. Everybody has that. So maybe be it 5 years ago when they started pushing that, or 10 years probably now. We kind of leveled off a little. We weren't growing, and I think now we have a little bit of a personal touch to things, and that's something we've always pushed, that we get customers for that, and they can't go into a bigger chain maybe, and I shouldn't pick on bigger chains or try to start something, but they might not get the personal service, and I think that's why some people come to us. And I was a little skeptical because my era was Kenosha News and newspaper ads and stuff like that, and that was a big part of us. Every week there was a huge newspaper ad. We spent a lot of money on newspaper ads, and it's not really where it is. Even the newspaper now is pushing more social media, And I would have to say I was a little skeptical on the amount of money these guys wanted to spend on that. But that's that kind of let them go with what they wanted to do, I have to shut up, and they did the right choice. They've been very successful in what they've done with that, and it's doing okay for us.
And what is your customer base?
Well, obviously we have a huge Kenosha, just regular crowd.
Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, there are some statistics through the social media that we've seen where we are reaching quite a bit of Chicago and Milwaukee people. And I would say even just like in the past year, the amount of people you hear just word of mouth walking around the store, oh, I've never been here before, this place is so cool. Things that they're saying that you know that this is their first experience. You know what I mean? So I do think that's paid off quite a bit as far as reaching a new crowd. But
yeah, it's interesting to see, and I'm sure I mean, my dad could probably attest to it. It's always been like this, but it's almost like you have your regular weekly crowd, the people, in-town people that I see, 2 or 3 times during the week. And then the weekend comes and you maybe don't see those people as much, but you're seeing new faces. And people, as Dan was saying, that you can hear them talking about it. It's their first time here, or they brought their friends to experience what we have to offer for the first time. And I think, yeah, you can definitely start to see the split of what these new goals of reaching other markets and other people, you can definitely see it in the customer base.
What have been some of the changes in terms of interest, in terms of some of the things that you either decided to develop more or go in a certain direction? Is there anything that's been kind of popular recently that you focused on?
I think a lot of craft beer is very big. Specialty liquor is very big. That's always been a big part of us. I think as far as food, COVID became big where people started making a lot of stuff themselves. Not they didn't do it before, but everybody was staying home. And I think stuff like the Food Channel, is it's a bigger part of people's life. Maybe before it wasn't, people weren't making as extravagant as stuff that might have a specialty cheese or might have a specialty spice. Something big for us, and we didn't know, so we have Italian seasoning that we ship all over the country. And we didn't realize why all of a sudden people were asking for this Italian spice. It was we use it in our hot beef to make Italian beef. It could be used in sauce, it can be used in many things. And it turns out, and I had no idea who she was, and I don't know that well now, but the pioneer woman who's on the Food Channel was using our spice and used our name. We don't know how she got it. We've even tried to get a hold of her to, thank her, and she's been receptive, but no big deal, so I think the food channels, we got publications on a few Wisconsin Foodie and stuff like that. So and I'm kind of rambling, but when you talk about the out of town people, I might be wrong what I'm saying, but I want to maybe you're 50% on a weekend. It could be as much as that of out of town and first timers.
Yeah. Without divulging the recipe, is your Italian seasoning different from Italian seasoning?
Yeah, it's a different mix, and a lot of our products we make stuff. We make many products, but now with labor, it's hard to make stuff. But a lot of our products are developed by us and developed over the years and fine-tuned to, the Italian seasoning is made by a spice company that's made it for as long as I can remember. So, 30, 40 years we've dealt with them. We have giardiniera. We don't make our own giardiniera, but it's one of our biggest things. But it is made by a company, and it's changed a few times, but it's kind of our recipe and how we want it. And we tell them to add this. A lot of our bakery products are made how we want them to be made. And the problem is nowadays you can't make everything. It's just there's just not enough workers. There's not enough time to do it. So, but I think a lot of stuff we are involved, and the kids have gotten involved in that, where they're developing products and like fine tuning them. You know, you might say, hey, this is, you know, you've been doing this great, but we want to add a little more of this item into it.
Okay. Do you have somebody who kind of is the research kind of person into little changes that you might make, or who's
It's
the
kind of
person?
a collective group effort. And I think that kind of comes back to how we say, you know, allowing employees to have input on things and valuing their opinion. It's not like it's just us that sit down at a table and try the special sauce and then collaborate to make these changes. You know, we take input from employees.
We'll cook something in the deli.
Yeah,
or so,
and you know, why
cook
don't you
a-
head back there and try that and tell me
cook
what
a
you
couple,
think of it.
couple big vats of pasta or
Yeah.
something. I really blew off that, but our spaghetti sauce would be a prime example of that. How much spaghetti sauce we sell, and it's not made by us. It's made by a company that provides for a lot of people, but it's made. We deal directly with them. They'll send us a sample. We want more of this, and we sell almost a semi full of pasta sauce a month.
Yeah, the jar.
You know, I mean, it's a big item for us. It's a large moving thing, and it's not. I think in the old days it was a hit or miss thing. You know, you kind of maybe got one batch that was good and one batch that wasn't. When I say the old days, I'm talking, you know, 30 years ago. Now it's fine tuned and it's precise and it's every time, and it might be as much as we tell them to put one more thing in it, and they'll send us 6 jars of it with different variations of it, and like they were saying, we'll just have them cook it, and you know, the people that have been around longer, and even some of the newer kids would just cook it in a deli, and there's a little kind of a back part of the deli, and we'll grab a plate and tell us what you think.
How about the community aspect of Tenutas today? We know what your father was like and his involvement. How is Tenutas involved in the community today?
We still try and do as much as we can as far as, he's always big on like donating to charity and just community events and whatnot. So we do a ton of fundraisers, golf outings, that kind of thing, where we're donating gift cards or baskets for,
Or attending and, contributing.
Yeah.
I think definitely a lot of involvement in schools. Athletics for schools are two, I would say, big things. And then, other foundations within the city of Kenosha.
Okay. Now you two are quite young. There are big cities around. You could have been in Chicago or Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Los Angeles. Why are you in Kenosha?
It was just a great opportunity. It's really hard to turn that down. And I think it just wouldn't feel right to not, carry out what was already set forth by our great-grandfather, grandpa, and father. So that was, for me, that's a huge driving factor. It's more of a pride thing. But I love Kenosha. Growing up here, we both really enjoyed it. Still have a lot of friends that live around here, and it wasn't a very hard decision to come back after going away for a little bit.
That's what I was going to say and it's not like we've never experienced, we both lived in Madison for 4 years. We had the big city, the lights, the traffic, and the fact that we both finished and made the commitment to come back here, I think says that there definitely is things that Kenosha has to offer, and that kind of pulled us back. And like he was kind of saying, carrying on the tradition, and I think the opportunity that we have to the platform we've been handed down, the store with all the community ties, I think to not take that platform and try and continue on the community involvement, the community service would be a pretty dumb thing to pass up, and a pretty selfish thing to not want to carry on and hopefully continue to build more of a community and involvement.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.